And while some of these so-called journalists want to rant and rave about this piece being pulled before making air, the question remains, do they have any leg to stand on over there, or is this just making something out of nothing? That's the real question. To discuss, let's welcome in executive editor of Newsbusters, Tim Graham, and MRC TV host, Justine Brooke Murray. Tim, we'll start with you. You know, you've been covering this controversy since it started earlier this week, and apparently leftists within CBS News are waging a civil war of sorts over pulling this story, with Sharon Alfonsi, the reporter who fronted the CCOT segment, going as far as to say that the decision to pull it was purely, quote, a political one. Tim, what do you make of her totally not biased assessment?
Yeah, you always have to laugh when they say the decision to delay this segment, it was not censored or spiked, it was delayed. They just didn't put it on yet because she thought it wasn't, Barry Weiss thought it wasn't ready. Yes, the decision to delay it was a political decision. Every segment 60 Minutes makes about Trump is political. You know, this is one of the things that leftists do that's so tremendously annoying, is they'll put together one of these propaganda segments and then claim it was the essence of non-political or non-partisan. That's a bad joke.
Yeah, I think it is a really bad joke, and I think the American people are waking up to it. That's why they love Newsmax so much. You know, meantime, late night host and wannabe comedian Jimmy Kimmel, he took to the airwaves across the pond to bash President Trump and Americans en masse to a British audience. Watch.
I honestly have no idea what's going on over there. I do know what's going on over here, though. And I can tell you that from a fascism perspective, this has been a really great year. Tyranny is booming over here. We are not bright. We're Americans. No one knows better than you. We're always just a little bit late to the game. But do we come through in the end? Maybe. Give us about 3 years, please.
And earlier this week, President Trump fired back, taking to Truth Social to write, quote, if network newscasts and their late night shows are almost 100% negative to President Donald J. Trump, MAGA, and the Republican Party, shouldn't their valuable broadcast license be terminated? I say yes. Justine, what do you make of Kimmel's comments? Not too funny comments, but comments anyway.
The irony of whining about fascism in America when he's talking to the UK. In your last segment, you spoke about a teacher in the UK who's been charged of terrorism for showing Trump campaign videos. And this guy is whining about fascism in America because, oh, no one wants to watch his show anymore. I also think that there should be a mop and a bucket next to Jimmy Kimmel every time he speaks, because he always gets very emotional. He's like a puddle.
Yeah, I think a mop and a bucket is a good idea next to Kimmel. I think a mop and a bucket would actually be a better job for Kimmel. I think he might be able to clean toilets better than he delivers comedy. Switching gears here to Minnesota, where instead of worrying about billions in taxpayer-funded fraud, Governor Tim Walz is spending his time whining about ICE raids and even accusing this administration of bolstering white supremacy. Watch.
This is what happens when your own federal government wages war against you. This is what happens when they target communities for their own benefit. This is what happens when they scapegoat. And this is what happens when they no longer hide the idea of white supremacy, when you hear the Vice President of the United States talk about now white people won't have to apologize for being white. That's never happened once in my whole damn life. And I think everybody in this room knows what they're doing. So we're here today to say enough of this.
Well, Tim, the former vice presidential hopeful, he seems to be deflecting quite a bit from his own issues in his own home states. What is your take?
Yeah, obviously, there was also this video going around of Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan, you know, wearing a hijab and speaking about her sympathetic treatment of the Somalis. They're really saying, when they say they're going to wage war on us or they're going to wage war on our neighbors, they're always talking about illegal immigrants. Now, obviously, not all Somalis in Minnesota are illegal immigrants, but it's this whole notion of we have your back when you immigrate illegally. And it's like, so whose side are you on? It really is amazing how in favor of illegal immigration they still are.
You know, folks, I thank God for my wonderful wife, my kids, my country, the greatest nation ever. And Americans like you who believe in the truth, the Chris Salcedo Show will never stop fighting for you.
The Chris Salcedo Show, for the news you need to know.